So positioning is an important part of CSS. And I didn't really go into much detail or do a good job explaining position in class today. So I thought I'd make this supplemental video in order to explain it a little better. So right here, what we've got is a basic HTML page, and we've got currently 5 divs. We've got 5 divs, but one of them I removed. I removed div 2 because that's going to be a child element. And if we look at if we look at the CSS here, so currently I have everything set to static except for the 5th div, which I have set to absolute and at 1,000 pixels from the top and 100 from the left. So if we first look at what this looks like, so with them all being static, once the first one's done, it goes down to the next row and then the next row. And then this one, this absolute one, is 1,000 from the top here, 1,000 pixels from the top, and 100 pixels to the left. Oh, let's refresh that. So it says 5. But so that's with them all static, even though I have it set 100 from the top and 100 from the left for top and left. Since the position is static, it just goes ahead and ignores that top and the left, and it stays all flush to the left here, and it keeps it right in the upper left hand corner. So like at pixel 00 is where it's starting there. But let's see what happens when I add in div 2 inside of div 1. So now div 2 is a child element of div 1, and div 2 I still have set to static as well. So let's save that. So now you can see div 2 is one, it's inside the border. There, it's adding its border inside the border. But additionally, it's the natural flow. Once it's adding div 2, once all the text inside div 1 is there. So like, let's go ahead and remove some text from div 1. And you see that div 2 moves up to start right after the text for div 1 is done. So that's how static works. But now let's go ahead and see if we set div 1 to fixed. Or actually, let's yeah, we'll start with just div 1 as fixed. So now div 1 is now listening to this top 100 and left 100 because it's not static, and it's going 100 and 100. And these other ones are just ignoring it, and it's saying, oh, okay, well, you're fixed, so I'm just going to ignore you and go to the position to the last static element that's not in a child. And so these two just move up to the top. This one comes over here, But now watch what happens when we scroll with fixed. So as you can see, since div2 is still static, it goes ahead and still just moves down right below the text, but it's staying right there in that fixed position along with div1, since its parent element is fixed. It's moving along with it. So okay, now let's see what happens when we change everything to fixed, except for, of course, our bottom element, which allows us to scroll down. The real purpose of this bottom one is just so that we can scroll down and see what happens when it's well, we'll leave that as static and just change these to fixed. So since we put it in a fixed position, it does not care that there is already stuff there. We have our 3, 4. We've got everything set to that fixed position because it is fixed from this 100 down, 100 over, and it's just ignoring everybody else. And now our div2 is still being static, and it's all being frozen in place. So like if you want your nav bar to stay at the top of your screen as people scroll down so they can still use the nav bar, you're going to use fixed. But obviously you're not going to fix something right on top of it like we're doing here. So now let's go ahead and let's change these back to static. And we're going to change this to, we'll leave that as fixed, and change this to relative. So, all right, these are static again, so they're going to go back. And now it's relative to where it should have been. So if we change it back to static, we see that's where it should have been, right? That's its relative spot. But now, since it's relative, it's 100 down and 100 over from where it would have been. All right. So now let's say let's go ahead and change this to absolute. So as you could see, it's not from where it was with its static position. With its static position, it was down a little bit and over to adjust for one, the text here, and two, a little bit for the border. But with absolute, now it's as a child element at absolute, it's saying, okay, where's my parent element start? My parent element starts in the top left corner. So I am going to be 100 down and 100 over is where I'm going to start from. And I don't care about any of the text that's in there. I don't care about the border, any of that stuff. I'm going 100 down, 100 over. So let's look again. Relative. It's adjusting for the text and a little bit of the border. And absolute, just straight up ignoring all that and going right to, and that's because it's a child element. So, for example, if we had um, it set to um, if we had 3, all right, let's go down to 3 and set 3 to, I think we already did this, but absolute. So 3 is absolutely going from your upper left corner, boom, right here. Doesn't care that there's already div 1 there. It's saying to go to that spot, so that's where it's going. As you can see, 4 no longer had a static element to follow, so it's going up to the top left corner. And with but look what happened. Look what's happening. So this one's still fixed, and these two are absolute. Oops. So when we scroll, the fixed one stays exactly 100 down, 100 over, even though it's getting scrolled down, it's still 100 down, 100 over. And your absolute one is staying absolutely right there that whole time. And it's just ignoring that um there's, this div 4 and everything. Um and ignoring that, these two are there, and it's just going where it wants to be. So now we're gonna go with a weird one. So we've covered most of the positions that you'll be using, but now we've got a weird one, which is sticky. Okay, so let's change all these to sticky, except for, of course, our bottom one. All right, so with sticky, as you can see, right now it's behaving relative. So it sees that, okay, there's, for div 2, it sees, okay, it sees the text here, so it scrolls down. Div 3 is saying, okay, I know there is a element there. I'm not gonna ignore I'm gonna ignore the text and just kind of move down a little bit. And then um 4 is, oh wait, hold on. Yeah, they're all set to sticky. Uh 4 down here is kind of adjusting off of, here, let's get rid of 2 so you can see more clearly. So 4 here is more, below 3 there. Uh, but let's add 2 back in. But now watch what happens when we scroll. So the fixed one, they would all just stay in their position, right? But this is sticky, so once it gets to the top, it changes to fixed. It goes from relative to fixed. And it's kind of weird. So did we do fixed for all of them yet? I don't remember. But watch what happens with them all fixed. With them all fixed, they are just all in the same spot, fixed right there the whole time, just ignoring everything. It's saying, all right, you're fixed. Well, I don't care, you're my parent. I'm gonna be fixed right there too. All right. It's with fixed, it's ignoring fixed ignores stuff. So it just doesn't care about relative stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it.